Hello and welcome back to Gars Gaming, and today we're going to look at the Stamina Warden Spin to Win. This build is primarily a group based build as per the current ongoing and direction of the meta from ZeniMax Online Studios. It seems to be that they're looking to encourage more group-based play in PvP. There's two variants of this build. I'm only going to cover the solo small group version, which is slightly more orientated towards tank and survivability, and then in the link in the description below the video there will be both written guide builds, one for more of a glass cannon organized group build. So this is the unbuff stats. So we go 32-32 to up our health pool. Primarily you want to try to keep that above 30k, so if you use the other two recommended races in the written builds, you might find that you need to put more points into health. We use the Warrior Mundus for increased weapon damage to help with the Plague Break proc, which is one of the sets part of the build. Skills, so we use Deep Fissure. This is primarily for the major and minor breach. Arctic Blast as our burst, heal and stun. Whirling Blades for the execute, primarily our spammable. Bird of Prey for major expedition, immunity to snares and minor berserk, and Cutting Dive as your sort of long range sort of like spammable, I guess, and also it sets them off balance, which looks into the champion points to deal more damage. Dawnbreaker of Smiting for the stun. Again, another stun, heavy burst, sort of part of the burst combo. So really, you'd be sort of looking on the edge of the group, looking for somebody who's weak, or weaker, trying to get them off balanced, and primarily aiming your burst at them to get the plague procced on them, and then get them to pop. And then just process elimination. Once they pop and hit the other players, you're just aiming for the next lowest health member and just working your way through, or just spinning to win. On the back bar, I've got a sword and shield on this build. Ice Staff's probably best in slot. You'll get more from your healing. Though it's not really, it's one or the other really. It's whatever you prefer. You get probably more tankiness and stats from sword and shield, but you'll get more out of your trait with an ice staff using powered. So we're running Frost Ice Fortress for the major resolve for the group, and also you get minor protection yourself. Living Trellis, I think that's how you pronounce it. This is your heal, and also it procs your sustain here, Nature's Gift. So it's a good sustain piece to have. That works, as you can read, it works on allies as well, so it still gives you sustain even if it doesn't go on you. Which is kind of nice, and obviously it gives you the minor toughness. Blue Betty, because we've got quite a few heavy magicka skills, we'd prefer to have the magicka coming in rather than the stamina, because you can just gain stamina through heavy attacks. Just be careful with this, obviously, with Plague Break. Though Plague Break isn't quite as strong as it used to be, just bear that in mind when you're in a group. Resolving Vigor, again, really nice, hot, or heal over time. and gives you minor resolve, adding to your tankiness again. Elude, really nice again. This works really nice against area effect attacks, which a lot of players are using nowadays. So that 20% mitigation is really nice to have. And obviously when you also get hit, you get major expedition, so you're not necessarily always having to cast Birds of Prey, especially with one of the sets that we're using. Having the extra movement speed is really nice. And then if you're running Sword and Shield, run Spell Wall. Otherwise, in the written guide it shows that you would want to run Permafrost. So the sets, as we've already discussed, Plague Break on the front bar, Sharpen Mauls. If you run Khajiit, I'd run Axes on this, just because trying to get that crit damage higher, which is much nicer. Wretch Vitality on the back bar for the sustain. Massive buff. Ice Fortress procs this, and yeah, so it's really nice. Ice Fortress actually procs both sections of this, the minor and the major, so which is nice. Obviously a staple, Balorghs, head and shoulder for the burst. You want to be dumping sort of a minimum of 200 ulti, so don't hit Dorney unless you've got at least 200, 500 obviously being the best. We have one open slot, so the Gallant Chain or Trainee. The Gallant Chain can be acquired from a quest in the starter zones. I got mine from Stross Mackay. Comes in reinforced, so there's not actually a lot you need to do to it. You don't need to buy it or anything, so that's really easy, and obviously you can do that quest once per character. I've gone for a mixture of traits, though it's probably better to go whatever best sort of suits you. Divines is actually really strong at the moment, and is massively underused. You got Sturdy for blocking. If you're running the group-based build with the resto, I wouldn't worry about Sturdy. Just look at Reinforced and Divines, or all Divines. But really you want to be looking at running Reinforced on the big pieces, so the chest, the head and the legs, and then well fitted on the rest, or Divines. Running Sea Serpent's Coil Shock, everyone is. It's just too good. It's got anti-gank, especially when you're solo, it's got anti-gank to it, with the 40% damage reduction when you're at full health. And then after that, obviously, then you get Major Berserker, Major Courage, which again, as I say, is nice. Major Berserk's obviously full out offensive, but Major Courage works both defensively and offensively, making your heals stronger. So that's really nice. Obviously, there is a cooldown on this set as well. We're running Swift on all the pieces when you're running Sea Serpent. You might be able to get away with one infused, but yeah, and then all weapon damage. Obviously, this would be best if it was all gold, but gold mats, especially on the jewelry, are very expensive. So purple is, or blue in some instances, is just good enough to get you going, and then after that you can like slowly upgrade it and stuff. So the champion points. The green tree is really down to you. I like Rashna, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. Steed's Blessing is really nice, especially you know, sort of kiting when you're not being in combat, especially in solo. You get a lot more out of it. And then these are just like quality of life stuff, really. They're not needed, but help. The blue bar, we're running Exploiter, where I was explaining about the Cliff Racer. Sets enemies off balance, so you get that increased 10% damage against them. Oh, sorry. Master Arms for the increased direct damage. all our skills mostly do direct damage. It's the white number that comes up if you have your damage numbers on. Orange numbers are damage over time. Green numbers are healing. Red numbers are incoming damage, and yellow numbers are crit. They have an exclamation mark after them. So yeah, anything that does white damage is affected by this champion point. Oko Overlord, pretty self-explanatory. Plague Break, proc's a status effect, so is a status effect. It does the disease one, so you know you have it up at least on one person. Bear in mind this is getting nerfed next patch, but it's still going to be pretty viable to have anyway for burst. And then Ironcad for the reduced direct damage attacks. Again, dots aren't really a thing at the moment, and AoE damage, like so yeah, so it's just a good champion point to have. The red tree, we run Celerity to counter the Sea Serpent Snare. Survival Instincts. I'm an Imperial on this build, so it's a good, nice stack. It obviously isn't 20-25% stacking. You don't get 45, but it's still really nice. Blocking, dodge rolling, you know, these things really brings the cost down of them. Pain's Refuge, pretty standard again. There's lots of negative effects in PvP at the moment, so yeah, definitely worth running that. And then I just run an extra fortified for the armor buff. It's a flex spot, you can run what you want, but just because we're in more medium, it's just nice to have the extra bit of armor. The food, we are running Jewels of Misrule for the recovery. Don't even worry about the gold food. It's just an absolute rip-off. For a couple of 100 health, maybe a bit more recovery, it's literally, it's not worth the money. This stuff is dirt cheap, and as we all know, we'd rather be in Cyrodiil than we would doing PvE. So yeah, definitely worth it. Just out of interest, you can see how little the skills cost, and that's not without survival instincts on there either at the moment. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. I'm looking to bring out more group-based builds for PvP, as that seems to be what a lot of generally a lot of players play. So please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.